Here we go. It was a quiet night until thunk, creak, knock, knock, knock. Someone is out there. My name is Jenny Counselor Martinez, and I'm the pre-first teacher for language arts here at Peterson School Lomas campus. I have a program that's called Read Aloud, which is a program where every day I'm reading aloud to children and engaging them in oral discussion in English and reflection on the story. And we also have a program here called Guided Reading, which we started recently, where children are reading on different levels. And it's a way to bridge the gap between dependent readers and independent readers. And I have seen your friend with the long neck. The cheetah pointed to some tall grass. Who will be hiding in the tall grass?
The giraffe.
You think so?
Yes.
Whenever you want to introduce a new grammatical concept or a new set of vocabulary, you need to begin with what the kids are knowing and then introduce it and then have the children become familiar with it and comfortable with it, so that when you're reading a text, then when they get to the word, you can ask them if they remember what that word means or what the expression means. Okay, look at the letter. The first one is going to be the sound. E.
Eat them.
Yeah, they find them and they eat them. In their writing, if you're introducing, for example, compound words and you want them to use compound words in their writing, you will introduce the subject beforehand and have them brainstorm other compound words and then get them motivated to try and see if they want to use them in their writing. So, you know, the kids come in and they're excited about learning, and you have to listen pretty carefully to them and their experiences and include their experiences so that it becomes meaningful for them.
I went to buy some presents. I went to Ponte Almeida. I played with my brother Pablo.
Having the children retell the story in sequence is a really important part of what we do in preschool. They come in and they don't really know how to do that. They can maybe tell you some of the aspects of a story or some of the ideas in their writing, but being able to go back and retell in their own words what the story is about is a huge developmental piece that we try to accomplish by the time they're out of pre-first into first grade.
Went to Marinas. We went to a boat. So a big snake in the water.
What you did this weekend, okay? I know it's hard to read in front of the group, but I think you have lots of good things to say, all right? Some of the children come in and they don't have any kind of confidence reading, and so we come up with strategies right away for them to make them feel comfortable, whether it's giving them a popsicle stick so they can point to all the words that they're reading, or whether it's covering the text and having them look at the images so that they can anticipate what's coming in the story. It just boosts their confidence and makes them feel like, I can do this. This isn't a painful experience. There are some children that come in that don't speak English particularly well, so they need to feel comfortable with the language and play with the language before we even read it on the page. So with a child who comes in with a low level of English, we do that. We don't open the book, we talk about what's coming, whether it's colors or numbers or animals, and maybe they don't know these words yet, but I'm introducing them before we even begin. Here at Peterson School, we have individual learning programs. It's unique. We can look at each child and learn from every child and learn what the needs are of every child. It would be a disaster, I think, to have an expectation as a teacher that all the students are the same, because they all are the same age, and so therefore we're all going to teach the same thing to all the children at the same time. It doesn't work. This is the first year where we have begun a program for reading involving the parents, and about 10 parent volunteers come every week to read with the children. This is astronomical in terms of being able to read with every child every day. The children actually love to be picked for the special reading time. The parents get to know the friends of their children, and you see the growth. This year we've actually tracked it. So the kids coming in reading at the lower levels now are reading at much higher levels than they were last year in March. So this is really significant for our reading program. I think it's made a huge impact And I think always in the past there's been this sort of division between school and home, and it doesn't make sense. As we move forward into the 21st century, we have to bridge that gap, and we have to use parents as a resource, because they are a resource. They're the most wonderful participators, and they are so involved and committed to their children, and it shows every day. I use a lot of humor, I use a lot of different resources. We do a lot of singing, we do a lot of song. I have a smartboard. I'm lucky enough to have a smartboard in my room, so I engage the kids in all kinds of media. It's really important to make sure that you have blocks of time allocated, some for sitting quietly and doing quiet work, some for writing. When they're thinking of creative thoughts, they need to be quiet. But then you have to, after they've focused for a long period of time and now their bodies need to move, you have to allow and plan for a time for them to move their body. Visitors have come into the classroom, and the first thing they see is children that are up, that are moving, that are talking and often talking in a loud voice or enthusiastically or singing or dancing. A lot of people see the chaos, but what I'm hoping that they're going to see through the chaos is sort of the language that's being developed. So the children are really excited and speaking in English. They're listening to each other. They're curious. They're really not afraid to open their mouths and try this new thing, which is really expressing themselves authentically in a second language. And some children do really well with all the excitement that pushes them and encourages them and sort of motivates them to speak more, and it makes them have fun. And then they want to come back the next day and they want to do it again. Yes, said Max. Me and you won't believe it. My flock! There are many values that we teach here at Peterson, and we don't stop the day to teach them independently. We teach them throughout the day, sort of organically. We really talk a lot about caring and honesty. And one of the ways is by giving them an opportunity to reflect on their work and to share back on other people's work. So we'll often do group work, and then the larger group will be able to look at some kind of work, if it's a piece of writing or a piece of art, and they'll be able to respond to a presentation, and they'll be able to be honest about it in a caring way. In this classroom, there's no room for children who are going to be unkind to each other or uncaring to each other. They want other children to listen to them, and they really think that listening is important. So we develop that skill, that listening skill, and that really has a lot to do with respect, which is a really big value here at Peterson School. Respecting each other, taking turns, all that has to do with learning these skills, not just for pre-first, but for the rest of their lives. And now it's a question of really helping them express themselves and use the English language, because that's what they're going to need when they go on in life. And I don't want them to be successful just this year. I want them to be successful for the rest of their lives. I want them not to read just in pre-first. I want them to be lifelong learners and lifelong lovers of reading.